Hi, I'm Deborah Layton, and I'm a yoga and Pilates instructor, and I also teach a few different kinds of somatic movement. One of them is called Sounder Sleep System. So this morning we're going to go over some of the basis of the Sounder Sleep System, as well as cover a couple of methodologies from Sounder Sleep System that help people to calm down their nervous systems so they can sleep at night, and also some tiny little movements that help lull the person to sleep, either when they're going to bed at night or if they wake up in the middle of the night. They're very small, so even if you sleep in a bed with another person, there's something you can do without disturbing another person. So let's first look at Sounder Sleep System and where it came from. So the Sounder Sleep System was originally developed by a Feldenkrais method practitioner named Michael Krugman. He had discovered during his work with the Feldenkrais method that certain activities that were done as part of what's called awareness through movement exercises consistently caused him to fall asleep, even during a class. He kept these practices in the back of his mind, using them to help some of his students. And at one point in his life, he developed a problem with sleeping himself. So he was able to use these techniques, as well as some others, to help himself with going to sleep at night. The methods are not only from the Feldenkrais method, but also yoga and a form of Sufi meditation. There may be some other origins as well, but those are the primary sources of this method. And as part of how Michael taught this technique to people was that he would include a strong basis of research from sleep research, neurology, and how the nervous system works, and a modern understanding of sleep hygiene, so that in addition to conveying these techniques specifically, there was also conveyed to the students some understanding of how to help sleep, what some of the causes of sleep issues were, and how to work with them in a more effective way. Michael actually was constantly updating, adding to, renaming, and occasionally removing some of the techniques from his training programs. And he unfortunately met with an untimely death. He had succumbed to either a cold or a flu, developed pneumonia, was living by himself at the time in Hawaii, and passed away unexpectedly without having gotten any kind of medical help. So that happened a couple of years ago, and even though there are a couple of hundred teachers trained in the techniques throughout the world, there's no longer any formal trainings going on in the methodology. So I'm, as an approved teacher of the technique, I'm trying to convey some of this information to the public so that the techniques are not lost, that they can go on and hopefully help people with sleep problems. So I can scroll down here a bit. There we are. So what is an adequate amount of sleep? So many of us grew up being told that you should get your 8 hours of sleep every night, and for some of us that is the correct amount. But it really varies from one person to another person, and it also varies from one culture to another culture. Some cultures really spend a lot of time sleeping, and others very little. Some people feel like they can really get through their day just fine on 5 or 6 hours of sleep, and other people might need 8 or 9 or 10 or even more. Generally, research into how sleep affects function in tasks that require attention and problem-solving skills shows that most people function best with at least 7 hours of sleep each night. But there is a range. And in some cultures, and to me this was a very interesting thing, sleeping in the heat of the day or waking and doing some activities for a few hours in the middle of the night is more of a norm. So rather than doing all of our hours of sleep all at one time, in 7 or 8 hours or whatever, in some cultures it's more normal to sleep maybe 5 or 6 hours at night, maybe 3 hours or 2 hours in the afternoon in the heat of the day. So the idea that we need to get a certain amount of sleep every night isn't necessarily correct for everybody, and it really does depend on the culture that you live in. So what causes sleep problems? Stress is often the biggest factor. The demands of modern life can make people get stuck in a fight, flight, or freeze vicious cycle where the nervous system is overly active. And as a result of the nervous system being overly active, the mental activities are also overly active. So even when a person is safe at home, they're unable to calm down, relax, and then be able to sleep at night. And often it's because overactive thoughts are preventing the person from going to sleep. But that's not the only issue. Sometimes it's hormones. And there are a couple of hormones that are particularly involved in sleep. One of these is melatonin. And that is a hormone that all of us have. It's produced in the brain. And it builds up in the system during the day so that by the time we reach a certain level of melatonin buildup, then that is the hormone that helps induce sleep at night. The way this works best, and research has shown this to be so, is that to develop the amount that we need to have to go to sleep at night, we need to be subjected to bright light in the early morning hours. This resets the melatonin levels to 0, and then throughout the course of the day, they build back up to that level that helps induce sleep. The things that prevent this from happening in perfectly normal, healthy people are things like living at higher latitudes where there are times of year where it's dark for many, many hours a day. So you don't get that light early in the morning. So the buildup of melatonin is too short a time period. And so going to sleep when you normally go to sleep doesn't happen. Another thing that causes this not to be functioning very well is living in a place where there are a lot of days of dark, cloudy weather. So when the sun is out, you may function much better, you may sleep much better, but if you have a spate of many days in a row where you have rainy, cloudy, dark weather, that can interfere with your sleep. Other hormones that can play a part, primarily for women, but not necessarily only for women, are the female hormones that at menopause get reduced in amounts. And that in turn can lead to hot flashes that happen at nighttime and the hot flashes themselves. disturb sleep by waking up a person, sometimes over and over again during the course of the night. There can be other hormones that affect sleep, but these are the main ones. Food and drink can also disrupt sleep. Many people have a problem with if they eat spicy or heavy foods late at night. They can either cause indigestion, which in turn will prevent restful sleep, or the spicy foods in particular can increase hot flashes for many people. So that also disrupts sleep. Foods that are high in carbohydrates may simply add too much energy to the body. So once you eat something that's fairly high in carbohydrates late at night, you may simply have too much energy to be able to go to sleep. Caffeinated beverages and alcohol can also prevent going to sleep very well at night. Caffeine, because it's known to be something that helps energize and activate the nervous system, it directly impacts sleep. So drinking coffee or cola drinks late at night can have a direct impact on sleep. Alcohol's impact on sleep is a little more subtle. A small amount of alcohol can relax the nervous system and help someone to sleep, but a larger amount may help someone go to sleep initially, but it's because the alcohol's effect isn't long lasting, because the body processes it. Once the alcohol goes out of the system and is processed by the liver, then it stops working. A lot of alcohol also contains quite a bit of energy, calories, and that can also impact sleep. So many people who have sleep issues have heard of the term sleep hygiene. And sleep hygiene is a relatively simple approach to getting better sleep, or at least setting things up in a manner that help us get better sleep. So these are things like avoiding caffeine by at least 8 hours before bedtime, and also avoiding heavy or spicy foods at least a few hours before you go to bed to allow some time for digestion to happen. Limiting alcohol use before bed as well is often helpful. A glass of wine with or after dinner may, again, relax the nervous system and help you go to sleep, but more than that often has an opposite effect. For most people, sleeping works best in a circadian cycle. Now, this isn't true for every single person. However, going to bed when it gets dark and waking up when the sun comes up is the system that we evolved with. So modern life rarely allows this rhythm to happen because we have electric lights. We are often staying up till 10 or 11 o'clock at night, regardless of when it gets dark. We're often getting up in the morning at maybe 6 or 7 or 8 o'clock, regardless of when the sun comes up. And so this circadian rhythm gets disrupted just by the normal activities we're doing each day: getting up, going to work, coming home, eating dinner, going to bed. But ideally, it's helpful to, once you come home in the evening, to have lights a little bit more dim, especially a couple of hours before bedtime, and to limit your screen time for several hours before bed. There are ways of changing the lighting on screens now that are better for sleep. And you can check and see what the adjustments are that are available on your phone and on your computer and possibly even your television screen to help minimize your screen detrimental radiation that you're getting that prevent you from sleeping well. Sleep is favored by routines, as well as certain activities that promote relaxation. So going to bed and waking up at the same time every day is helpful. Taking a warm bath or shower before bed helps relax the muscles. Not too hot, not too cold. Reading is often relaxing for people. Some people pick up a meditation practice that helps them relax before bed. Having a glass of warm milk, it actually does help. And there are other things that a person can do that are comforting, that help induce sleep. The bedroom itself should be dark, cool, and quiet as much as possible, with clean, comfortable bedding. So what is comfortable bedding is different for different people, but it should be what's comfortable to you. Some people sleep best with very soft beds. Some people need something more firm. Some people like to have very soft blankets and sheets. Other people like that crispy, cool feeling of getting into bed with cotton. So whatever feels really clean and comfortable to you. Ideally, the only things that should happen in a bedroom are sleeping, making love, and possibly reading before bed. Anything else, such as watching TV or eating snacks in bed, not really good for helping with sleep. So the elements of the sound asleep system are two things: day tamers and night tamers. Both of these are what are called mini moves. Both of them help reduce nervous system tone. Day tamers are meant to be things that you can do throughout the day for a few minutes. You can do them sitting at a desk, riding on a bus, standing on a line at a grocery store. You don't have to lie down. They're just little things you can do to help reduce your nervous system tone. The night tamers are often even smaller movements that help absorb the mind because you're having to pay attention to what you're doing. They are done in concert with the breath. They deepen your internal awareness, reduce nervous system tone even further than the day tamers, and they help lull you off to sleep. And these can be done either prior to going to sleep or if you wake up during the night. Something else you need to know about sound asleep system is it's a practice. It's something that's helpful to do on an ongoing basis, very much like if you do a martial art or yoga or meditation or something else. The more that you practice it, the more effective it becomes, and the better the practice gets established. So especially the night tamers, initially it's suggested that you do them outside of the time period when you would be getting ready for bed, just to develop the practice and to ensure that you have a good feel for how to do them so that they do work and do help you to go to sleep. If you use them too soon to try to help induce sleep, they may not work very well. So it's better to kind of build the muscle of doing the practices a little bit, maybe a couple of weeks before you actually start using them to help you go to sleep at night. So that's, in a nutshell, the sound asleep system. There is more information to share. And so let's go right into just sitting for a bit. You can have your eyes open for a while until you feel you understand what we're doing. And then once you feel you've got it, you can close your eyes and the practices will become more effective. So to start, we're just going to sit. Have your hands somewhere on your belly so that you can feel your breath. And as you inhale, feel the belly come forward into your hands. And as you exhale, the belly will come back in toward the spine. So this isn't an activity that you need to particularly do. Like you don't need to force your belly out and you don't need to work to draw your belly in. It's just a natural movement that happens with the breath. So when you inhale, the belly comes a little forward into your hands. And as you exhale, the belly comes a little more back in toward the spine. So this is one of the primary practices of sounder sleep. It's just called guided natural breathing. And it can be done sitting, standing, or lying down. And you don't need to breathe in any special way. It doesn't need to be particularly deep, long. And bring your attention to how the hands feel resting on the belly. Feel the warmth of the hands on the skin over the belly. Feel the softness of the belly under your hands. And just continue this for a couple more breaths. Again, the eyes can be open or closed. It's often a little easier to attend to the sensation if the eyes are closed. And just feeling the size of the breath. And letting the breath be soft, easy, light, and unhurried. And just another breath or two this way. And after this breath, you can just let your hands come to rest on your thighs. And just notice if there's any change in the tone of the nervous system, the ease of the breath. And next we'll go into one of the primary day tamer practices. So this one's a little tricky only because there's a particular hand position to it, and I will demonstrate it a couple of ways. So this is called the secret handshake. So if you hold both hands up, and I'll demonstrate it one way and then the other. You can take the fingers of one hand around the thumb of the other hand, and leave the index finger pointing out of those fingers that are grasping the thumb. And then grasp that index finger with the fingers of the other hand. So if you're strongly left or right-handed, the way I just demonstrated this may not make any sense to you. So I will demonstrate it the other way. So again, both hands are up. We'll take one hand, wrap the fingers around the opposite thumb, and then extend the index finger. And wrap the fingers of the other hand around that index finger. So hopefully one of those versions worked for you. I'll demonstrate again. Both hands pointing away from you. Wrap the fingers of one hand around the thumb of the other hand, and then extend the index finger. Wrap the fingers of the other hand around the index finger. So this is the secret handshake. Other way. Fingers wrap around the thumb. Extend the index finger. Fingers wrap around. So you don't have to switch back and forth. Just pick one that feels like you can do this on your own the next time. So I'm going to the first version. I think this is probably left-handed because I'm left-handed. So we have index finger in one hand, thumb in the other hand. We're just going to rest the hands down into the lap. And again, you can let your eyes close if you like. They can be a little bit open. There's not really much to see. This is more something to feel. So whichever fingers are wrapped around the thumb. So for me, the thumb of the left hand has the right hand fingers wrapped around it. Yours might be opposite. For a few rounds on the exhale, we're just going to lightly squeeze the thumb with those fingers. And then inhale, release. And exhale, a little squeeze. And you can just let the hands rest on your lap as you do this. On the exhale, squeezing the thumb gently. Inhaling, releasing. Exhaling, a little squeeze. And releasing on the inhale. So continue that a few times. So the same side each time. Gentle squeeze of the thumb. And then releasing. So as you can see, this is something I could be sitting in a meeting doing this to help calm my nervous system down, and nobody would know I was doing it. So continuing with that little squeeze of the thumb, and just check in with yourself. If that squeeze is causing the knuckles of the squeezing hand to turn white, make it a little gentler. And then make it even less of a squeeze. You know it's happening. You can feel there's a little squeeze happening, but it's not a strong squeeze at all, just a little. And then let go of doing that squeeze. And bring your attention to the other hand that's grasping the index finger. And we'll do the same thing on this side. So on the exhale, it's just a little squeeze of the fingers wrapped around the index finger. Inhale, release. Exhale and squeeze. Release on the inhale. Squeeze on the exhale. And again, make sure you're not squeezing hard. Knuckles should not be white. It's just an easy little squeeze. You can feel it, that there is a squeeze happening, but it's certainly not like you're cutting off your circulation. It's just enough that you can feel the activity. And now we'll go on to the advanced version, which is alternating. So on one exhale, a little tiny squeeze of the thumb. Release on the inhale. Next exhale, a little tiny squeeze of the index finger. Release on the inhale. Tiny squeeze of the thumb. Tiny squeeze of the finger. And continuing to alternate one way and then the other way. And continuing to let the breath be light, easy, soft, and unhurried. Eyes can be closed, or they can be slightly open. And just one or two more on each side, finding your own way to where it feels complete. And then just resting the hands. And then this may be the most difficult part. Let the hands come apart and come to rest on the thighs. And just rest with the eyes either closed or partly open. Notice your breath. Notice your state. And now we're going to move to guided natural breathing, lying down. So you can lie down on your bed, you can lie down on a couch, you can be in a recliner chair, or you can lie on the floor. I'm going to just pause the recording a moment while I change position. So I would encourage you, doing this at home, to make sure you have whatever you need to make yourself comfortable. So you may want to have a pillow and a blanket, and have them handy so you can use them as you like. So when you're in your position, you will come to lie down and have your things available. So I'm going to focus what we're doing on the hands on the belly so that you can see what I'm doing. You should lie with your knees bent, feet on the floor. Alternatively, you can place a folded blanket or some pillows under your knees so that your legs are just supported. You do want to have a little bit of a fold at the hip so that the belly can be soft. And then we're just coming back to the guided natural breathing that we did earlier. So you'll have your hands on your belly. Bring your attention to your breath. Let the breath be light, easy, soft, and unhurried. And just feel the belly rise on the inhale and fall on the exhale. Your eyes can be closed. Feel the weight of the hands on the belly. You might even feel the warmth of the hands on the belly. And feel the softness of the belly under the hands. And as your hands rest on the belly, have the thumbs a little bit above the belly button and the rest of the fingers below. I'm just turning to the side so you can see the position of the belly button is right there. So thumbs above the belly button, fingers below. And as you're in that position, notice that as you inhale and the belly rises, that there becomes a little more space between the thumb and the fingers. And as you exhale and the belly falls, the thumb and the fingers come a little bit closer together. And this can be very small as a movement. But bring your attention to that, slightly increasing the distance on the inhale and closing the distance on the exhale. So the movement is like so with the breath. And your breath is still soft, easy, light, and unhurried. Just feeling that change in the distance between the thumb and the fingers. So this next practice, which is a night tamer mini boo is called the pinch. So basically, we will be accentuating that movement so that as we exhale, we'll actually be grasping the belly between the thumb and the fingers. And we'll be giving the belly just a little bit of a pinch. And then on the inhale, we'll release that. The fingers just ride on the belly, spreading apart. On the exhale, the fingers and thumbs will come closer together. We'll give the belly just a little bit of a pincer grasp, and then release it on the inhale. So with your hands on your belly, thumbs above the belly button, fingers below, as you exhale, they'll come together, and you'll just do a little bit of accentuating that movement. Release that on the inhale. The fingers just ride on the belly, spreading apart. On the exhale, they begin closing together, and you just add a very little bit of a pinch. So this isn't really like you're picking up the belly and squeezing it. It's more just the skin on top of the belly, just guiding it a little closer together. Releasing on the inhale, spreading apart. And bringing the skin of the upper belly and the lower belly a little closer together. So again, it's small. It's not about pinching an inch of fat. It's just slightly moving the skin of the upper belly and the skin of the lower belly closer together. And then allowing it to spread back apart. And letting that be a little softer, a little easier. A little more nuanced and loving to your belly. And rest. Leave the hands as they are. Come back to just noticing the slight spreading apart of the thumbs and fingers. And coming closer together with your breath, not breathing in any special way. And then coming back. On the exhale, thumb and fingers move together very, very lightly, moving the skin of the upper belly toward the skin of the lower belly. And inhaling, just riding that movement back, spreading apart. Exhaling closer together, tiny, tiny pinch. And spreading apart on the inhale. And continue that for a few more breaths, making the movement as light and easy as you can. So that if someone were observing you doing this movement, you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell that you are doing anything. So small. And let that come to a stop. Come back to just sensing the breath. Belly rising on the inhale, falling on the exhale. And then no attention at all. At this point, if you would like to cover yourself up with your blanket, perhaps lie on your side if that's more comfortable. Just come to rest. And if you begin to drift, just allow that to happen. And you can either stay as you are and rest, or you can roll to one side and come back up to sit. And this is our practice for today of Sound Your Sleep System. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, bye.